Okay, I think we can start. Okay, I think we can start. Okay, I hope my voice is audible. So hope all of you solved this assessment test problems. I've some people told me that questions were a little bit tough. Minute. So how many of you understood how to execute dictionary problems basically? In problem with the Moodle is that in Moodle Python dictionary is unordered. Okay. So unordered means every time you run the code, the output will be different. So you have to run it until the test case matches. Okay, what I'm going to do it. For example, if you declare any dictionary, so as you can see here, the dictionary I've created is A, B, C are the keys, 1, 2, 3 are the values. Every time I run it, you can see the data is not in the order. Okay, so it will be in the random order. So if I give, suppose for example, the test case has 1, 2, 3, or to print 1, 2, 3 on the output. Okay, right. So in that case, you have to keep on pressing until your test case matches with your output matches with the given test case. So 3, 2, 1 is coming, 3, 1, 2 is coming, 3, 2, 1 again, 3, 1, 2, 1, 3, 2. Or you can click evaluation button. Suppose I'll give the output as Suppose this is what I gave on the output. Until you have to keep on pressing this evaluation button until your output is matched. You have to execute that particular code. So that's why I'm not adding many dictionary problems because because of the random orderness. Okay. But see, sets also is a random order. Even dictionary is also a random order. So apart from these two remaining, you can work out with in Python. But these two you can practice in the any online compiler or Visual Code or Jupyter Notebook. In Jupyter Notebook, it is ordered. That is a problem. For example, if I same code, if I execute in Jupyter Notebook, you can see it is ordered. The output is ordered. Only thing is the Moodle version, Python version, and Jupyter version are different. So earlier 3.6 versions were not supporting ordered output, whereas the new versions are supporting the ordered output. That's the only change. So it is not possible to upgrade immediately. It takes some time. So if you are practicing any dictionary problems, make sure that you understand this random order of dictionary. That's why in the problems also I gave clearly that you have to keep on executing the evaluation button until your test case are matched. Okay. See, many people are not understanding how to write a code. First thing I want to clear is uh, the smart brain people. They're very smart. Okay. I want to tell you guys once. See, they are writing code like this. What a stupidness it is. I don't know whether I should cry or laugh. I only don't know because you are making fool out of yourself if you're writing codes like this because you are neither learning coding nor learning a good way of doing it, right? For the problems that I gave for the assessment, they wrote code like this. What a stupidity. See, why I'm telling this is you might escape in the Moodle because I'm not giving that level of restrictions in Moodle. I've purposefully noted down these programs so that I can show all of you. See, there was a test case, right? If A equal to class, they have written this class ante. Actually, you have to count how many C's are there, how many L are there, how many S are there. You have to count. Just because I gave only one test case, they have copied as it is in the printf statement. Imagine your input consists of so many test cases. For example, now class is there, then student is there, then grit is there. So in this case, what you will do? Can you keep on writing if condition for all the strings? Impossible, right? So please don't use this kind of stupid brains to just to write the code or don't do the coding for my sake. Okay, nothing I will gain from this. If you are doing like this, you are losing your basically the way of learning. I am not losing anything. These kind of codes definitely will not work in other platforms when we are going for like hacker rank, lead code. In future, when you come to training now, you will understand what is the effect of doing or writing the codes like this. So it is one of the, I should appreciate their brains, right? They have patience to copy the test case, then write the code like this. There is a certain way of doing these patterns, right? You should spend some time and analyze how to write this pattern. Okay. Instead of writing like this. Though this code might have worked in Moodle, it won't work in any platforms. I'm telling you, because they will check whether between your input and output, is there any logical code or not, they will check. If there is no logical code, then they will definitely ignore the whatever code you have written. Between your input and output, there should be some logic to generate that pattern. Similarly, here, this is working for just for one class because I gave condition test for alphabets, remove characters, move the alphabets, list problem, right? So basically, it might have worked for one condition, one test case. So in HackerRank and all, there will be thousands of test cases for one program. So you can't escape from doing, just by doing this, you can't escape from the logic basically. So please inform your friends not to. I am not going to consider all this kind of codes. I am checking everything. So those who are doing like this, now they should not do coding. They should stop and do something else, because there is no use of doing the coding like this. Okay. So many people are not able to solve the problems whichever I gave, right? But you could do all the remaining problems. So these are the actual problems that you will be getting. So in the coming days, after your theory internals, I'll be doing the contest in the directly HackerRank. So that time, all these smart brains people will understand how to write a proper code. Okay. Right now, I'm not adding anything so that you concentrate on your mids and complete your mids. In the coming days, we will be doing contest in the HackerRank also. So this was one. I'm just revising the whatever the problems that you are not able to solve. So people can ask me if you have any doubts or text me. Okay. So there is the list problem, right? Where you need to enter a list of cost separated by comma, basically. So today I will discuss about that only. Eval, there is a very beautiful function called as eval, which will take your input as a expression, right? You need to take the input as an expression. Then based on the condition, you have to add 18% tax to all the input that you are entering from the user, right? So then there is a fixed condition, right? What is that? Your for the right justification, assume total width is 7. So at max, you have to assume that the width is 7. Okay. So width is 7. So in that, if there is no enough width, you have to attach 0 to it. So there is only one line of code for that. Very simple. So if you put your brain, definitely you can work instead of using all those stupid codes. Okay. Some people have written for this also, they have written directly. If input equal to 235, comma 10, comma 56, comma 46, then they'll write this. So people are using only if condition, else condition, nothing else they are doing. Okay. Those who are doing, I know who are doing, how they are doing, but those who are not attending classes regularly, they are using all the stupid codes. But my one suggestion for them is they will suffer in the training activities. Definitely they will suffer because all these basics will not be repeated again. That time they will come and ask me, what is this? What is that? So better do it properly. If you don't understand, you can ask me, right? But instead of writing the correct code, if you cheat or do something else, you are going to suffer, not anybody of us, right? So whatever code you are writing, please write it through the logic, not through just input and output statement. Okay. This is a simple code for every data that you are reading, right? Multiply by 1.18. Then as per the right justification. So this is one more code, very simple code, still many people didn't do. What is this code? Write a program that asks user to enter a list of numbers, then replace all the even numbers in the list with zeros and print out the list and replace each odd number in the list with the ones, right? So you have to create a new list based on again input. What is the input I have asked? So input should be like this, okay? Comma separated input. Then the output is, if that particular data is divisible by 2, you are using append function, very simple code, right? Finally, again, you should store that back to the original list. Then for some people, I've given this code, right? Ask the user to enter a course code like Python 201 or data structure 125. The code consists of alphabetic department code followed by a space and then the course number. Okay. The course number is not in the range from 100 to 499. Then output that user entry is invalid. Basically, that means it is an invalid course. You should display. So very simple logic here. See, if you know how to read a string properly with the space, with the numbers, you will be able to do it. So basically, what are the two types of strings I want you to read? One, first you need to read a string followed by a number, or multiple strings separated by space followed by a number. So all that you want is you have to split the code based on the last value, right? Code dot split based on the last value -1. Then that data you can store it in the num. Generally, code dot split means you will split by space. Then from the last value, I want basically I'm accessing the last digit. You can say like that. I'm splitting the code by space and accessing the last string, that is 125 or 201. Then I'm checking with the number if it is less than 100 or greater than 499. Then we call it as a, if the number is less than 100 or greater than 490, we call it as an invalid code, else it is a valid code. Again, this is many of you didn't solve this. You have to enter a number with the comma, right? Then remove the comma, convert that into a proper integer number, then take the square root of the whole number, correct? Square root of the whole number. So here you are using square root function. You are reading an input. Again, I don't want to display only up to 2 decimal. So first what we'll do, we'll replace comma with null space. Then we convert that into float. So why we are converting that into float? Because the square root function in Python will not take the integer data. It will take only the float data. So whatever the data you are converting from comma to the space, that should be again converted back to float. Then you have to take the square root, right? So in one line, you can do this thing, right? So replace the comma by space. So all simple programs, still many people have not done this. Please go through the topics once again. You can assess yourself, right? And similarly, you have this odd index, even index. This is simple code only. Test for alphabets. This also many people have not done. So what you need to do is based on the given string, right? Whatever the string you have given, we need to check whether all the characters from alphabet A to Z appear in that given string or not. Okay, so you can check it here. So in this string, all the characters of alphabets from A to Z will appear. If it is so, you need to print the answer as true. If any one character misses in the given string from the alphabet A to Z, we have to print false, right? So basically, you are reading a string, alphabet string, right? So you know that there is a inbuilt function, string function. You are storing all the alphabets from the ASCII lowercase into alphabet. Then you are reading an input data and storing in that input string. Then we are checking if any character that you entered from the screen is greater than or equal to alphabet. Why greater than equal to? Because your range should be between 65 to the boundary 97, right? That is for capital A. Similarly, for small a, here we are converting into lowercase. So if the condition is equal to or greater than 3, we are printing that only if all the alphabets are included in the given string. So it's a simple logic. So you have to just work on that. Similarly, this move the word is very simple. People have done it. This particular question, everyone have done because it's a simple one based on slicing concept. For example, take this Rahul Reddy. Yeah. So everyone have done this code because it's slicing. People, because you solved so many problems from slicing, right? You are accessing basically last. What you are doing here? Yeah, you have to move the word. Yes. The user input two. So you have to remove first two characters and add it in the last character, last in the end of the string. So you will access up to A, then you will access the remaining string from A to the end, then you merge both of them, right? So M plus S. So this one everyone have done. So the questions that I gave today, in the last assessment were medium to average, not like too easy or not too difficult also. Please assess yourself and go through the content, practice the questions, then definitely you can solve more such questions in the coming days. Okay. So I think in the last class we covered anonymous function, right? I think we covered anonymous function in the last class. Functions also we started different type of parameters, different type of arguments that we have in the functions. We covered this. So anonymous functions are also called as lambda functions, correct? So what are the anonymous functions? They are the short a single output and a single output function basically, which are used to do a simple logical equations. So lambda, this I think I've explained already, but just 2 minutes I'm revising so that the upcoming topics you will understand. There is a link between all the topics that we are going through. So what is the syntax for lambda expression? So you have to use the lambda keyword and assign that to the another variable. You can't use lambda itself as a variable, right? Lambda followed by parameters, number of variables or arguments, followed by the expression. Okay. Then you can call that particular function through the, right, that function name, followed by the parameters. Internally, this function will call lambda expression, right? These two values will be substituted there. And in that way, you can evaluate a simple small equations. Okay. So for example, this one, we are calling minimum function, passing two parameters, right? Internally, again, minimum function is associated with lambda function. It takes the values passed to this minimum, 35 and y, 35 and 74 will be stored in x and y. Then we will return x if x is less than y, else we will return y. So such kind of small logical expressions, you can do it using lambda without writing big code. So for example, this is doing very unique task with the help of lambda, for example. So what we are having here is we are having a list. Within a list, we are having a set of another list, right? 1, 2, 3. So it is called as a nested list, you can say. So in that nested list, we are using the lambda concept to do a very big logic in a two, 3 lines, basically. So what we are doing, we are using one more variable sort list. For that, we associated lambda. This is the variable name for the lambda. Then what we are doing, we are using the sorted function inbuilt. It is an inbuilt function. We are using sorted function. Then sorted function for each value of this number for any number, whatever the function that you are passing to this number, it is doing the sorting, correct? So see here, the execution starts from this particular line, correct? Result equal to third largest. For that, we are passing two parameters. What parameters we are passing? My list and sort list. First, you will my list you will call, right? Then basically my list you are passing, my list data you are passing, then sort list. Again, within this lambda, see here, we are having a num and function. So this is the importance. In the previous example, you saw that x and y are normal variables. In this example, this num and function are acting like a entire different functions, right? This num is for one function, this function is for another. For example, this my list will get stored in number, this sort list will get stored in function. Okay. Then this is the simple logic for finding the third largest element. Basically, I want to find out third largest element from all these three lists. That means which is the third largest from this list? 6, right? And in this list, the third largest is 54. In this, the third largest is 5. So 1 to 5. So we are finding the third largest from each of the list within a given list. Okay. So for that, we are taking of lambda. One is doing the sorting work. Another is doing the finding the third largest item. Okay. So when we call this right number and function, see internally again in this particular expression where length of L minus 2 basically. So you know that once the array is sorted, basically the third largest, in this case, third largest we are finding length of L minus 2 for L in function n. So again at this line what we are calling the function with the parameter num, right? So again, what we are calling the sort function. Basically, this will sort the data, and every time this lambda function is called, right? For each of the list, it is returning the third largest item. And finally, that is creating a set and data is getting stored in result. This entire thing is creating a set and the data is getting stored in another list called as result. So such kind of large operations, we can do it with a simple 2-3 lines with the help of lambda. Basically, first lambda function is sorting the list. Second lambda function, right? Second lambda function is finding the largest third element in that given list, right? So these kind of problems you will get in the HackerRank and all. So you can go through and find out some additional problems based on lambda. I've added some here. So some more problems we can explore so that you'll get a clarity on how to use this kind of lambda function, anonymous function, to do the large complicated task in simple terms. Okay. Anyone have any doubt in this logic? Basically, initially it looks difficult, but each lambda function has its associated task. This is third largest function we are calling. Internally, this is calling, right? Within that, what we are calling sort list we are calling. So sort list in turn calls this lambda function. Third largest will call this lambda function. Okay. So we are combining two lambda functions within one code. One is doing sorting, one is doing the finding the largest of third largest element in the given list. Okay, this is a small topic. So what I have given, function within another function. That means you can have a function inside another function, right? Which is allowed in Python. So what we are having here is this particular function is having a string called as Python class, right? And x value as 5. Within this main function, we have one more sub function, right? But the concept here is this sub function is accessing the content of the main function. That is allowed because it is part of the main function, right? It is just like a nested function in C. Python also supports the nested function, right? You can call these functions from outside. Internally, this data will be fetched from the main function word. Okay, map function I'm just introducing so that yeah. Yeah. Okay. 3, 5. See, third largest means okay. Maybe I told in a different way. 3, 6, 3, 5, 6, 8. See, after sorting, your data will be like this, correct? 3, 5, 6, 8. Because this particular sort function is sorting the data, right? 3, 5, 6, 8. So who is the third largest element here? This one. After sorting, basically. Similarly, you can sort this one 12, 23, 54, and 87. Okay. So who is the third largest element? 54. Similarly, this one 1, 2, 4, 5, 12, right? 1, 2, 4, 5, 12. Yeah, in this case, okay. In this case, actually, third largest item. Which one is the third largest item? 12. Highest is 12. In this case, I think the output should be 4. Yeah. So except this, you are getting this all this test cases correctly. I'll check this code. So you can modify based on the logic actually. You can go through this code actually. I will send you this file. So what should be the answer for this when you sort it? 1, 2, 4, 5, 12, right? 1, 2, 4, 5, 12. What is the third largest item? Third largest item is 4. You should actually get 4 here. What we are getting? 6, 54, and 5. Well, 23. Yeah, you can think like this also. Yeah. If you are accessing from backside, it is printing the second largest. 1, 2, 4. Yeah, correct. So you can make this as second largest element. Yeah. Maybe I've given the name wrongly. So this will print the second largest element. Yeah. If you give L of 2, it will come with the third largest. That's what I modified a little bit here. You can try it out. Now you know that it is printing second. Same code all of you modify to get the third largest. I will add this program in the Moodle test case. Okay. In the list lambda functions. So you try the same code and get me the third largest item, not the second. Yeah, it should be length of 2. You can modify however you want to. For third largest item, you change this code. Your friends are already suggesting. Remaining people try it out. Okay. So map function, most of you are already used in solving a lot of codes. I'm just introducing for all people at a time. So map function basically is used for what? It is used to return a list of results after applying a given function to each item of an iterable. Basically, map function applies a given function to the n number of elements present in a list, iterable values. Basically, iterable means you should be able to access them using for loop, right? Through the index. So those kind of values are called as iterables. For example, list and tuple comes under iterable values. So the syntax of map function is you should have a function. What is the function that you want to apply on each iterable values, right? For example, I'll say add, then I'll pass some values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that means this add function should be applied on each of the values that I am passing here in the iterables. Or you can pass an entire list or a function. Entire list or a set or tuple you can pass to the function, map function. Okay, so what is a function? It is a function in which a map passes each item to the iterable. Iterables means it is a sequence or a collection of iterable objects which is to be mapped. It has to be a sequence of collections. For example, if you take list, the elements in the list are called as a sequence of values. So how to do mapping, all of you have done it, but just for clarification, those who have not used a map, so please understand. So here with the help of map, what we are doing, we are calling this addition function, right? These are the list of tuple values, 1, 2, 3, 4. So first one is a function, second one is the numbers, which are coming through the tuple. So every time this function is called, map function is called, we are in turn calling this user defined function called as addition. We are doing n+1. So we are adding 1 to the each, I mean n plus n. For each number, we are adding to itself. Then we are returning the result. Correct. So the map will call the function n number of times until all your iterables are over. Then it creates its list. See, does it create its list is the question. Immediately it won't create its list. So we have to convert that into list. For example, if I print here, so without this line, okay. So here, though your calculations are done, you are not getting the output because the map will return the object reference only. It won't return the actual value. To get the actual value, in turn, you have to convert that particular map object into list object. So we are using list constructor here. Whatever the result is stored in the map object, we are converting into list. Then again, we are printing with the help of the listed variable. So this is the importance one when you use map. To directly print map data, you will not get the output. You will get some junk data. To overcome that, you have to convert that into list type. So like that, you can pass any number of parameters to the map function, right? So in this case, we are adding just one tuple data. Like that, you can directly pass the arguments also if you don't have the variable names. So here, what we are doing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What it is doing, why the output is 5, 7, 9? Because in this function, your map function is calling the my function with two parameters, correct? Two parameters. That is this A, this is B. This is A and this is B. Now what the compiler is doing inside is, because map function operates on each iterable values, first it will send 1 to A, then it will send 4 to B. So 1 and 4 will add that 1 plus 4, 5 it will return. So 1 and 4 is done. Then again it will take 2 as A, 5 as B, those two will be added. 3 as A, 6 will be B, 3 plus 6 will be added. So in that way, you can use the map function to do a number of tasks. Basically, based on number of arguments you need to pass to the function, right? In the previous example, you are passing only one values at a time. Here you are passing two values at a time with the two different tuples. That is the advantage of using map function. Then you can combine map with the lambda also, right? So what we are doing in this code, we can combine map with the lambda, because lambda is also a function, right? It is also called as a synonymous function, anonymous function, sorry. So lambda is also anonymous function. We can combine that in the map. The first parameter is a function. Second parameter is list of values. So when we are calling this function, see, we are calling numbers. Then what we are doing, every time we call that function lambda, what it is doing, it is subtracting x by 100. Okay. So see here, set function we are calling set of result. Basically, I want to print the set data. So numbers data we are passing to the map function along with the anonymous function, right? So for every number data that is there in this, it is doing the subtraction and storing the result into the result variable. So that is the importance of this map and lambda, how to use the map and lambda expressions to do complicated expressions is what you need to practice more. Okay. Similarly, what we are doing here, Here also where we can pass the string values also to the map function, right? Uh, this is the function name. These are the list of values. So this is also very easy code, right? We are printing a list of length of data which we are passing here. And same question, what we are doing here. See, in this case, we are not only calling the map, after that we are converting that result into list also. So we are calling the map with the numbers and it is doing the power operator, right? 2 power 2, 4 power 2. Power function it is implementing and the final result is getting stored in this particular variable. So all these are some of the examples where you can apply the map and lambda together to do the tasks. Okay. So similarly, eval function is very important, right? Why we require eval function is what you need to understand. What is the difference between input and eval? Generally, till now, people used input function to read the data, correct? Generally, what happens when you read the data from the input function, it will be considered as a string, right? So in this case, see, I am taking the input data from the user, multiplying it by 10. For example, if I enter 12, what is happening? Everything is multiplied as a 12, but it is not giving 12 into 10. Instead, it is multiplying 12 itself a number of times. So because it is a string, it is doing the concatenation work basically. So generally what we do, we convert that input into integer. Then we will get the desired result. All of you are aware of this. But what is the advantage of eval function is you need not to worry about what kind of data you are entering. Eval will automatically do its job based on the input format. Whether you are entering expression, whether you are entering integer or float, it will take the data associated with that particular data that you are entering on the screen. Okay. So here you are entering 1, 2, 3, correct? Then 1, 2, 3 is, if you're trying to print the class of that 1, 2, 3, you will see what you are getting integer. But I'm not using any integer typecasting here. Instead, what is the alternative we are using here? Eval function. So eval function basically used to convert the whatever the data that user is entering into appropriate expression based on the data type. Okay. Along with that, eval can also solve expressions. For example, this is an expression, right? So x plus 10 is an expression. So it is solving the entered expression. So print is also an expression. Okay. Print is also an expression. So when you call that this entire thing through the x variable, it is doing the printing job. Then eval is also finding, see in this example, sum of all the list elements which you are passing to the eval function, right? So eval will be basically able to solve the expressions only. So what do you mean by expressions is these are the expressions, but this kind of things are not allowed in eval. See, this is not allowed. Why? Because this is not an expression actually, it is a condition. Eval if I print x is what I am trying to say. For example, I'll say print 5. So when I execute this, you are getting an error. So please make a note of that. Eval works only for the expressions. It doesn't work for logical or relational operators like this. Similarly, eval won't work for assignment operations. So here, what we are doing is we are assigning pi to 3.14 and we are trying to print that value. So this is also not allowed. So in eval, what is not allowed? Assignment expressions, condition expressions are not allowed. These two are not allowed in the eval. You can use other type of expressions, right? These are all called as expressions, 2, 3, 5, string. You can pass anything, but it should result in a particular value. Again, this is allowed because it will result x is not equal to y will result some integer, right? Either true or false. True or false. because x is not equal to y. What is x value? 100. Y value is also 100. So the result of this expression is either 1 or 0, right? So these kind of things are allowed. Logical expressions are allowed. Comparisons using if condition, assignment operations are not allowed in eval. Okay. I want you guys to explore more things on what else is not allowed in eval. So I have told this many. Remaining things you people explore. What kind of expressions we can't give to the eval. Okay. If there are anything that the constraints are there for eval, you can let me know. You can add it in the notes. Okay. So this is what I have given the overall. You can use eval with what kind of expressions? You can use eval with Boolean expressions that use any of the following Python operators. Okay. See, for example, I can use it for comparison operators and or not, membership operators we can use, identity operator we can use. So apart from this, anything else is not. See, equal to is also not there here because equal to is not a comparison operator. Equal to is an assignment operator. Okay. So eval will work only with these operators. Please keep a note of that. So what is the need of eval? What else it can do basically? Is it only its only job is to read the input and convert into appropriate data format? No, eval can be used to do a lot of things. What is the question, Yuraj? You think you are typing a wrong message? Okay, anyway. Yeah. So what else eval function can do? The lot of advantages are there using eval. So one by one, I'm going to tell you. Please listen. So here we are using a function, right? In this case, you see we are applying the concept of eval. So from the printf line, see here, we are calling the function with three parameters. One is 2, one is 4, one is the expression. So condition we are passing 2, 4, a is greater than b, we are passing here. Then with the help of eval, we are checking the condition. We are not again writing a is greater than b here. Correct? Whatever the data that is coming to the condition, we are checking one by one. So like this, you can pass n number of condition to eval, write it, use that eval in a user defined function and help you to solve so many problems. So here condition, what we are adding 2, 4, a is greater than b. So eval will check the condition. The condition is true, it will return a plus b. So what is a and b we are sending? 2 and 4. Is 2 greater than 4? Is 2 greater than 4? Answer is no. So it will return a minus b. Correct? That's why the first output is minus 2. When we are sending the next expression 2, 4, a less than b, the condition becomes false because here 2, 4, a is 2, b is 4. So 2 is not less than 4, right? Sorry, 2 is less than 4. Condition becomes true. So what you will return? A plus b. So that's why for the next function, the output is returning 6. This is one way of using it. So one by one, I'm showing so that you understand the concept, right? So eval function can check the multiple conditions at a time, provided it is taking the data through the function. Okay. Or else you can add any arithmetic expression, right? 3 plus 2 minus 1 into 5, something like that. So eval will help you to get the result of that expression. 3 plus 2 into 5, right? So we are entering a mathematical expression to the eval function. So it is solving 2 into 5 first, then adding result to 13. So it can solve mathematical expression also, whatever you are passing. So that also eval can do. So this is about eval, right? So in coming examples, so a lot of problems, you are going to use eval. So please revise that. Whenever I add the questions, you can use the concept of eval. Even in the assessment, we used eval function. I used eval for most of the problems. For example, in this case, this particular example will not work if you take the data with the space. For example, if I write like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So what is the error I'm getting? Invalid syntax, right? Because what is the code I used here to solve this problem? Eval, okay? 1, comma 2, comma 3, comma 4, right? So basically, whatever you are entering, correct? The eval function will read that, analyze that, then convert each data by based on the parameter separator, whatever you are entering. So eval, when you enter list data with space, it will not work. So please remember that whenever you are solving the problems, eval with the space data, it will not solve. You have to have some kind of uh, differentiator parameter to recognize the group of values. Okay, that's why here I've given list of chords separated by comma operator. So how you enter this data, that you should be understanding. Does anybody use different method? See, one example is here people have used a long logic. Okay, what they have done is they use split function. This is also valid, but why you want to break your head? So you can apply the concept of eval. So ultimately your code should be in a such a way that it runs in a better time. Okay, you can write a long code also, not an issue, but whose code executes faster, that is also important criteria nowadays, right? Time constraint is also they are keeping in the hacker rank and all. Suppose your code takes 20 seconds, someone's code takes 18 seconds, uh, their test case will be matched, not yours, because they've given the constraint as 18 seconds. So such kind of time constraints also they are giving. So a lot of things we need to do. So it's not easy right now. A lot of things are getting upgraded. Writing code is not the only requirement nowadays. Writing optimized code is what they're asking for. Okay, so we all have a equal responsibility and job to understand what is the better code and how to go about it. Suppose if someone's of your friend has written a better code which does the execution in less time, you can refer there. It's not an issue. But we should make sure that we are learning the better version of the question, whatever code we are writing, you have to analyze that. So here we are splitting the data by comma. Then they are splitting strip. They are using element dot strip for element in elements. Correct. So basically, same thing only. Right. So the only thing they did is they stripped this comma, right? Splitted it, then stripped the space, extra space. That is also correct only. Logically, the answer is correct only. But these things can be avoided and replaced with eval. Correct. So this is all again rest of the things. Okay. So there is one more important function which I wanted to discuss. It is called as all function. Okay. So from now on, I'll be discussing some inbuilt library functions. Inbuilt Okay. So one of the important inbuilt library function which I thought of discussing is all. Okay. So this three-word letter is very powerful function, all function. Okay. So the only thing that it does is it will return either true or false based on the given condition. Okay. So in this case, see the various examples I've taken. If all the elements in this particular list are true, true means all of them should be at least 1 or greater than 1, not equal to 0. Then 1370, one of the element is 0, right? So when I'm printing using all and passing that list to that all function, right? What it is returning? It is returning false because one of the element is 0. Similarly, see the second example. Here all the elements are either 1 or greater than 1. So this will return true. Okay, true. Again, similarly, this one will return. Why it is returning true? So what is the function I'm using here? Not all. There is also any function. Okay. So here any one of the item is having at least 1 or greater than 1. The any function will return true in the given list. Okay. Generally, we are checking whether the elements in the list are one of the element is there or not. For example, if I write print P, then I'll write print all of P. What will be the output of this is true. It is returning true. So again, don't get confused. If you are checking all condition for the empty list, empty set or empty dictionary, it will always return true because there are no elements only. Suppose if you add any one element, then it will return false. Okay. So at least 1 or greater than 1 should be there. If the elements are 0 or if that expression returns 0, the all output will be false. Then what else you can do with this all function, right? See here we are having a list which is comprising of Boolean expressions. 5 is greater than 2, 1 equal to 1, 42 is less than 50. So these are 3 separate Boolean expressions. So when I'm passing this to all function, it is evaluating each expression and giving whether the result of this expression is giving either 1 or 0. Is 5 greater than 2? Yes. Y is 1 equal to 1? Yes. Output will be 1. Is 42 less than 50? Yes. So now we got all of them as 1 or greater than 1. It is returning true. Okay. Suppose if I write like this, 42 greater than 50. So what is the answer we are getting here? False. Because this will result into 0. These two will result into 1. Correct? So this will be false condition. Then what else it can do? You can do a lot of logical operations. You can check the expressions using all function. So here we are having a list 1, 2, 3. Then we are passing all function. What is this one? List comparison, right? This is a list comparison. What we are doing in the list comparison? We are checking whether every number is greater than 0 in this input. N is greater than 0 for n in numbers. If the condition is true for all the values in the n, the output will be true. Suppose if I add -5, -6, correct? So what it is returning? It is returning false because not all the numbers in the given list are greater than 0. So that is the importance of all function. It is logically checking the condition for each element in the given list. Similarly, you can do, see 0 is less than x, less than 20 for x in numbers. So we are checking whether all the numbers in the given list are falling between the range of 0 to 20. The condition matches, the data output will be true case. Right. So this is a code which will do basically password checking, whether your input number is a valid number or not. Basically, with the help of all function, it is doing all the 3 tasks at a time. So what is the requirement is my input should be an integer, correct? And that number should be in the range of 0 to less than x, less than 100. And that number should be divisible by 2. So there are 3 expressions here, 3 Boolean expressions. Okay. So we are having inbuilt function called as is instance. It is checking whether what is the data type of that particular value that you are passing. We are checking whether this X is integer or not. So first we are checking this, then this expression, third expression. So all these three things, what we are doing, we're passing to the all function. See here, if all of these functions returns one, we say that it is valid input. Else we say that it is invalid. So in this case, what is the output I'm getting? I'm getting invalid output. Why? Because the given data is an integer, but this condition is false, correct? Because it is not less than 100. It has to be less than 100. This is true. 142 is divisible by 2. This is true, but this is false. This particular expression is false. So the given number is not a valid input. So we are checking these three separate functionalities under one roof with the help of all function, right? So it has a lot of advantages. Please explore more problems based on all function. Okay. So suppose if I write -5, or I'll write 42, 25. The 25 is not divisible by 2, right? That's why it is still giving invalid output. We'll make it as 24. So what is the output we are getting? Valid output. Because all the given data is an integer, it falls between 0 to 100 and it is divisible by 2. So it is going to do a lot of such simplified expressions. So in the previous example, you see, we checked only for one number. Now you can check for multiple numbers at a time, and you can make all these instances as a separate function. Okay. So now each instance is a separate function. This a equal to 0 to b to 100 is a separate function. Then this even is a separate function. Okay. So in that functions, we are calling three different functions, right? So is integer, is between, is even. Then we are calling through the for loop n number of values, 4.2 minus 42, 142, 43, 42, right? So every time we are calling print f is valid or not, how we are checking with the help of this line. So for all values in this particular input, we are calling the functions. These three functions we are calling. And if all these three functions returns true condition, we say that that particular number is a valid integer, valid input. So 4.2, it is giving negative, minus 42 false, 142 false, 43 also false, 42 is valid. Because 42 is an integer, it falls between 0 to 100 and it is divisible by 2. So in that way, you can add as many functions as possible to the all, and it will help you to check the conditions for each given input. That is the importance of all function. Okay. Similarly, see this code. All keyword is used to find the prime numbers, right? All of you have solved prime number programs. So we are giving the number 2, 4, 5, 7, 11. We are calling the prime number function. For all the numbers in the given list, if the condition is satisfied, we will return. See, the output will be only false or true. This you need to be very careful. In all the three cases, right? Output is either false or true. We're not printing anything. So when we are calling just all function, it will be either true or false. Again, if you want to print whether every number is an integer, every number is a prime number or not, you can put this all code inside another loop. For example, like this, for x in numbers, print all ix for I in functions. So same thing, you can write it here. I will add these two codes in the Moodle. You can practice later on. Okay. So if I print all a, no, it won't print true for negative numbers. Suppose if you add negative numbers. Okay. Yeah. So it's an important, good question actually. So all function will work even for the negative numbers. Okay. So only if you are having zeros in your list, right? It will return false. Anything else apart from zero, negative numbers also, it will return a positive result. A good question. I think I said wrongly. Okay. So remaining things, I'll just tell you. You can explore. There are some more functions called as iter, basically iterable functions. Then enumerate functions, right? Then filter data. I'm just listing out some of the important functions that you might require while solving the problems. Okay. Remaining, if you find any good functions, you can explore. But for the problem solving, these are the some of the extra functions along with all, right? So what we discussed till now, what are the different type of functions we discussed till now? Lambda, map, eval, then all, any, right? Iterable, enumerate, and filter data. So these are some of the useful functions what I'm listing here. Okay, you can make a note of that. You can explore these three by yourself. I don't want to go in detail again. They are easy to refer. Okay. These three, please go to in detail. So iterable, basically, it will check whether all the elements in the list or set or dictionary are iterable or not. Enumerate will give index to the data. Basically, if suppose I have a random list of data like A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D in the list, it will attach index to each given number. For example, for A, it will attach 0. For B, it will attach 1. For C, it will 2. For D, 3. So enumerate means just like adding the roll numbers to you. When you join the college, you don't have any order, right? Particular order to sit. When we give you the roll numbers, you know how to sit, where to sit, right? So enumerate will attach that particular index to the given data. Then filter data, again, based on the entered past arguments, filter data will check the condition for each of that. And if the condition is true, it will return. Basically, see in this code, we are having a filter data, filter function actually, filter function. For that, we are calling the filter data function with the some values. So for every value that is greater than 5, this filter data will return X. Okay. So whatever the values this function has returned true condition, that means X, only that data are printing. Okay. So to filter the data based on the given condition, we are using filter function. So filter function also accepts some function with the list of values based on the logic that you are implementing in the function. This filter function will result only those conditions or those values that match the given condition. Okay, that's why in this case it is displaying say 46, 10 and 12 remaining are ignored. Okay, so these are some of the functions I've listed. All these are Python inbuilt functions. So like this there are thousands of functions, but at your first starting level I'm explaining you what are all the things that you need to know while doing the problem solving. Okay. So I am just going to introduce you what is Python object-oriented programming. Okay. In the next class, I will discuss in detail with the code examples. What is object-oriented, how to create the object-oriented programming concepts in the Python. In detail, we will discuss. Okay. But today, for the next 15 minutes, please listen. What is object-oriented programming? First, that clarity you should have. Once you understand what is object-oriented programming, we can easily go through the content. You can easily understand it. So please write down that it is a most important topic that need to be learned starting from now, because in Java you need it, in Python, advanced Python you need it, C++ you need it, right? C hash you need it. So object-oriented concept is one of the most powerful concept in any programming language, right? So your C doesn't come under object-oriented programming. See, we call it as in short OOPS, right? OOPS concepts. So object-oriented programming concept. C is not object-oriented programming. The languages derived from C, C++, Python, right? Java, all these are called as object-oriented programmings, object-oriented programming languages. Okay. So we call it as an object-oriented approach, right? So the two pillars of object-oriented programming is classes and object. Okay. Please note down these terms. Pillars of object-oriented programming are what? Classes and objects. Okay. So what is that object? Object is related to real world entity such as book, house, pencil, etc. The OOP concept focuses on writing reusable code. This is the most important feature of object-oriented programming. So you write it once, use it everywhere. That is the importance of object-oriented programming. Why Java is most widely used? Java is most widely used because it is called as portable language. Even Python is also most widely being used. Why? Because it is a portable language. You can install Python package, you can run Python programs in any compiler, any system at any time. Okay, there is no restrictions. See, unlike C hash, you cannot run in Mac OS, you cannot run in Unix OS, C++ you cannot run it in the Linux OS, right? So that is not portable. Whereas Java and Python are portable languages, right? Portable means you can reuse that code, convert that code into package and reuse it on any platform. So that's why it is a widespread technique to solve the problem by creating the objects. So what are the principles of object-oriented programming you need to understand, right? So object-oriented programming is composed of these five to six main topics. So what are they? First one is class, object, method. Method is nothing like functions that you are using in the code. Method is similar to functions. Inheritance, polymorphism, data abstraction, and encapsulation. You have to remember these keywords until your final year, because these are the most important concepts in Java also, Python also. So inheritance, polymorphism, data abstraction, encapsulation are very important features of object-oriented programming. Class object method obviously required to develop the object-oriented concepts, but these are the main pillars through the object-oriented programming you are achieving these concepts. So what is class? First, we need to go one by one. What is class? Class is nothing but a collection of objects. For example, it is a logical entity. Assume it is a logical entity that has some specific attributes and methods. It is similar to your, suppose structures. You are using structures, right? In the C, struct student. Then you will write some student data, right? Then close the structure. You can think like this particular structure concept is similar to class concept. So it is a connection of logical entity that has some specific attributes and methods. Attributes means nothing like variables. Attributes means variables, method means functions. For example, if you have an employee class, then it should contain an attribute and a method. Okay. So attribute and a method. For example, what can be the attributes of employee? You can say employee ID, employee department, employee salary, right? Those can be considered as an attribute. What can be the methods, right? Methods can be returning the details of the employee, calculating the salary, right? Then or performing any other operation. So these are called as attribute and method concept. So how to create class in Python? You have to use class keyword followed by class name colon, just like how you are creating the function. Then what is the need of object basically? So class, you understood, class is a collection of objects basically. The object is an entity that has a state and behavior, right? So until you create an object, this particular class doesn't have any memory, or you can say it is non-existent, right? Until you create this object. The object is an entity that has state and behavior. Until you create an object, this particular class, though you created, doesn't have any memory. Okay. So it is as simple as that. For example, uh, we have a college, right? That is GRIT. Suppose GRIT, assume that is a class. Okay. GRIT is a class. But if in this class, if there are no students, then you can't call it as a college, right? Somebody has to be there, somebody has to be coming there and studying there, teacher should be there, student should be there, then only we can call it as a GRIT college, correct? So it is similar to that. So class will not exist until object exists. Okay, so objects are like students, your GRIT is like a class. Until students are there, class is there. If there are no students, there is no use of that particular class. Okay, so in that way, the object is an entity that has state and behavior. It may be any real world objects. So you can create any type of objects, right? Everything in Python is an object, and everything has almost attributes and methods. That's why you see when you print the type of integer, it will display something like this in the angular bracket. Class, int, something like that, it will print. Correct? So everything is represented in terms of what? Object and class. Integer is an attribute inside the class. Okay. Class is a integer is an integer class basically. Int is an integer class. So when we define a class, it needs to create an object to allocate memory. This is a very, very important point. So you can't just create a function and ignore. For example, in C, we'll create a function. We'll create a function and then you'll write some parameters to it, right? Then this function will do some work, return A plus B, for example. So if you write this much, it is enough. You don't worry. But in the case of Python, as soon as you create a class, your first job is to create an object. Until you create an object, that class doesn't have any memory. So this point, all of you need to write down. When we define a class, you need to create an object to allocate the memory. Until you allocate the memory, it won't exist. Okay. So now you see, this is a basic example of object-oriented programming, right? I'm going slowly so that everyone understands. What we have here is a class called as car, right? And these are methods. Okay, these are called as methods. That is def. What are these? I will tell you. Underscore init underscore self comma model name comma here. And this is a user defined method. This is an inbuilt method. So what is inbuilt method? I will tell you. So in this case, we have created a class called as car. That means this entire thing is called as a class. This particular class doesn't have any memory until you create a object. Until you create an object, right? Until you create an object for this particular car, this particular class car doesn't have any memory. So how to create an object is the next question, right? So this is an example of creating an object, right? So what is the object we have created? C1. C1 is an object for the class called as car. And for that particular car, we are passing two parameters. Okay, right? Then we are calling the display function. Just like structure members, how you access the structure members, it is similar to that, right? So until I create an object for that particular class, what is the syntax? Object name followed by the class name followed by the number of parameters to that class. How many parameters it is accepting? Two parameters. What is the self? This self is an inbuilt parameter which will be there for all the predefined constructor in the class. Okay, you can change the name of this. It won't generate any error, but you should have this self similar to self. You can have any name so that you can refer the data inside that particular car, right? What are the data I have inside the car? Model name and year. Okay. So this data model name has to come here and it has to get stored in the car's model name. It has two values, model name and year. And similarly, this year has to get stored in this particular variable, right? So for that, self indicates that these two belongs to the local scope and these two are coming from the outside class, right? This is the initialization of the init, means initialization of the class variables. Then display function is printing whatever the assigned values with the help of self keyword, it is displaying it. So you can try to change the name. Right? So it is not an error. So you can generally people use it as a self only so that you can understand what are inbuilt variables, which are the variables that are coming from the outside. Suppose if you want, you can create VAR also, it will work. You can change the name of self variable. Okay, so there is no issue. Generally, it's better to keep that as it is self. Okay. So this is called as object. Which one we are creating object here? C1. Suppose I want to display the details of another car. So what I'll write? C2 equal to car. Then I'll write and I'll pass some other value. Then I'll write C2 dot display. Right? So you can pass as many data to this particular class car function, right? Basically, sorry, not function, class. As many data as you want to this class car and get the data back through what? Through the objects. C1 and C2 are called as objects here. Just like structure variables, right? In C, we have learned structure variables, right? Similarly, in Python, we can call it as a objects. C1 and C2 are called as objects here. So what is the class here? It has two attributes. What are the attributes of class? Car, model name and year. We have created C1 object to access the class attribute. The C1 object will allocate the memory. See, until you create the object, it doesn't have any memory. Then similarly, it can have a method. Class can have a method, right? It is not mandatory, but 99% when you are doing object-oriented programming, every class should have a attributes and a method. So method is nothing like a function associated with an object. In Python, a method is unique to class instance. Any object can have any methods. What do you mean by unique to class instance? That means that particular method cannot be accessed by outside function. Okay, it can be accessed within that particular class along with the particular associated object. Then these two keywords I'll introduce and we'll discuss more about this in the coming class. So what is inheritance? Inheritance is one of the most important feature in the object-oriented programming, right? So important aspect which simulates the real world concept of inheritance. That means it specifies that the child object acquires all the properties and behaviors of the parent object. Inheritance means that is the general terminology, right? Suppose if you're having a grandfather, right? Your father might be having some of the characters or similarities, behavior wise, talk wise, appearance wise. He might be having the similarity to your grandfather, right? You as a son or a daughter might be having a similarities to your father or mother. So that is called as an inheritance, right? So the same concept we are using in the programming. That means there is a parent class, then there is a child class. Child class will access some of the features from the parent class and utilize them in its own class. Okay. So it is not mandatory to that everything should be same, but child class will access some of the properties from the parent class. So that is the importance of inheritance. See, by using the inheritance, we can create a class which uses all the properties and behaviors of another class, right? That means you are using the appearance, the behavior, right? From your parents, right? That is called as child class. Your parents might be having the similarities from your grandparents. So that is also called as inheritance. The class and the one whose properties are acquired is known as base class or parent class, right? So from the person through whom you are acquiring the properties, they are called as base class or parent class. The person who uses them is called as a child class. So the most important thing why we are doing this is it provides the reusability of the code, right? Inheritance provides the reusability of the code. How means? Because sometimes I don't want to implement everything in my child class. Some of the properties I will borrow from the parent class. When I borrow the data from the parent class, it saves time and energy, right? So I need not to write and implement everything in my child class. So I will take the property, I will implement in my child class. For example, there is an Aadhaar card, right? Aadhaar biometric is there. So what we are doing in our college every day, every student is utilizing biometric to fetch the details of their Aadhaar card, right, from the main server. So every individual device, you can think like a child class, biometric device, you can think like a child class, right? And the main server from where data is coming from, each individual student data is coming from, that you can consider it as a parent class because it is providing the same service to all the devices you are using, correct? So that is an example of inheritance, you can say. You are utilizing the existing data and we are doing certain tasks. We are reusing the existing data. Okay, that is called as inheritance. Hope all of you understood. Anyway, you can go through once again and I will repeat in the coming class also. What is polymorphism? This is also important keyword. Polymorphism means doing the same thing in a different way, right? For example, in this I have given all animals can speak in the sense, obviously they can shout loud, right? The way they shout is might be different based on their behavior. So when I say animals, the individual behavior of talking is different, right? So speak is a method which is common for all the animals, but based on whether it is whether it is dog, cat, right? The sound changes. So speak is the feature which is common for all the animals or humans you can take, but the way we talk is different for each individual. So here the talking is called as a task and the outcome, the voice outcome is called as a different output. So that is called as polymorphism. So everyone are using the same function called as talking, but the output of each person is different. So that is called as polymorphism means doing one task in a different way. For example, arithmetic operation is there. What are the different ways of doing an arithmetic operation, right? So that you can take it as an example of polymorphism. Okay. My main objective is same, but way of doing it is different, right? You can do it with the uh, arithmetic operators, right? Addition, you can do it with arithmetic operators, logical operators, right? Bitwise operators. So the goal is same, but the way of doing it is different. Encapsulation means hiding the important data. It is used to restrict access to methods and variables. So just like how we are doing in model, we are hiding certain data which is not visible to you. Certain data is visible to only me. So that is an example of encapsulation, showing only the required data to be shown to the users. That is encapsulation. So in encapsulation, code and data are wrapped together within a single unit from being modified by accident. Okay, important data are kept inside uh, certain restricted methods so that we achieve this encapsulation. So encapsulation, with the help of the encapsulation, we are doing the data abstraction. So what is data abstraction? Data abstraction and encapsulation both are similar actually, right? Synonymous, because data abstraction is achieved through what? Encapsulation. So what is abstraction? Abstraction is used to hide internal details and show only functionalities. Abstracting something means to give names to things so that name captures to the core of what function the whole program does. So you are not revealing everything. You are only showing the required data, correct? So for example, all of you are using UPI. UPI is very successful, entire country, and other countries are also following the UPI concept. Google Pay also uses UPI, Phone Pay uses UPI, right? Paytm uses UPI. but no one knows what is the internal structure of the UPI so that they can replicate it or they can create their own UPI. So that internal details they've hidden, or all that they've given is access to that particular UPI functionality, API, right? Google Pay, Phone Pay, Paytm, all of them are using the UPI functionality given by the government and using their own platforms. But no one knows the internal details of the UPI functionality, so it cannot be replicated. So that is called as data abstraction. So these are some of the most important features of object-oriented programming. Okay, so until you understand these concepts, you understand the code. You won't understand the code. So go home and explore more examples, right? Try more examples. So what can be related to the encapsulation? What can be related to the inheritance? First, forget about the coding, understand the concept. Once you understand the concept, the way of doing it through the code becomes easy. Okay. So whenever you talk about object-oriented programming, these functions will come into picture, right? Class, object, method, inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction, and encapsulation. So in the coming classes, we'll be solving a lot of problems based on these concepts, right? How to do the inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction, what else, what are the features provided in Python to implement these OOPS concepts. So one by one, we will be exploring in detail. Okay. So in that way, you can learn object-oriented programming one by one so that everyone understands this, because next semester when you go to the department, you will have Java. Same concepts will come into Java also. So you can understand and better prepare now itself. Yeah, sure. I will upload. Okay. So a lot of programs will be learning through this concept. So don't miss the coming classes. So coming to the content in the Python, I will be adding last 1 week we were busy in the training works, so couldn't add much questions. From once your internals is over, we'll be uploading a lot of content in this particular Python in Moodle. Okay, so in another 1 or 2 days, we'll be adding questions in this data structures Python, then topics based on Lambda map, right? Then we'll go one by one. After that, we'll go with this object-oriented programming. So we will see that one by one we can do. Right now, we can concentrate on your internals, right? In free time, you can explore the whatever topics I taught today. Okay. So we'll see in the next class. Any doubts if you have, you can ask me. Any doubts?
Sir, we are using all and any function, right?
Yeah.
Sir, instead of that, why can't we use or and? What is the advantage of this all and any instead of using and or in if loop?
Just now you saw, right? What are all the functionalities we can do? Using
Yes.
all, you are doing lot of you are checking lot of functions at a time. Can you do that with or and? I don't think so. Correct. All will basically evaluate n number of functions at a time, and it will return the result of that in true or false condition. That is the importance of all. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Friday's test questions, so we can practice questions from other tests too. Okay, sure. I will enable them, but most of you have not done. I don't know. Dictionary problems, I think I deleted it because many people are confusing how to execute it. These problems I will enable. Assessment test problems I'll enable. You can practice later on. Anyway, I'll be adding new programs also. I just need some more time to work on the important programs, not some random programs. Okay. Any doubt? Okay. So I think next week all of you will be having internals only. So once your internals completes, we'll schedule immediately after the internals, the next session. When will your internals end?
15th, sir.
15th, Tuesday. Tuesday only. When it is starting?
13th.
Okay. 13th it is starting. Okay. 15th and we can schedule on Friday or Saturday next session. Once your internals are over immediately. Okay. 13 to 15. Fine. So just for your information, next will be the session will be anywhere between 16 to 17. Okay, fine. See you in the next class. GE exam. What is GE exam? Graphics engineering. What is that? That you can do it anyway. That is anyway related to drawing. One session won't trouble you that much. See, the problem is if I don't keep it often every week, you will lose the track. Already because of holidays, a lot of people lost the track. So the continuity should be there. We'll see about it. Okay, I will discuss with the people, concerned people, and get back to you. Okay, ma'am. See you in the next session.